The gunshot echoed across the dusty plains of Silverado Territory. 1876, sending a flock of startled birds into the crimson sunset, as Wade Youngblood watched his life savings disappear with the retreating figure on horseback. Blood seeped through his fingers as he clutched his wounded shoulder, betrayal burning hotter than the bullet lodged in his flesh. Wade had trusted Zara Thornton with everything: his plans, his gold, and foolishly, pieces of his guarded heart. The beautiful blonde woman with calculating green eyes had approached him 3 months prior with a proposition that seemed heaven-sent. A partnership to purchase prime grazing land that would make them both wealthy beyond imagination. How could he have been so blind? "Damn it all," he growled, struggling to his feet as darkness threatened to overtake him. His prized stallion, Thunder, nudged his arm with concern. "I know, boy, we've been played for fools." The journey back to town was a blur of pain and rage. Wade had spent 5 years building his modest cattle operation after the war, living lean and saving every penny. Now, at 32, he had nothing but a bullet wound and a thirst for vengeance that burned like whiskey in his throat. Doc Miller's face turned grim as Wade stumbled through his door. "Good Lord, son, what happened to you?" "Woman trouble," Wade muttered before collapsing onto the examination table. When he awoke hours later, Sheriff Tom Garrison was standing over him, weathered face pinched with concern. "Youngblood, you've got to stop bleeding all over my town." Wade attempted to sit up, wincing. "That backstabbing I know about, Miss Thornton," the sheriff interrupted, holding up a hand. "She's hit 3 other ranchers across the territory with the same scheme, works with a gang out of Widow's Creek." "I'm going after her," Wade declared, swinging his legs off the table despite the room spinning around him. Sheriff Garrison blocked his path. "In your condition, she'll put another bullet in you, and this time she won't miss your heart. Besides, I've got a telegram from Marshal Davis. They caught her accomplices in Copper Canyon. She's likely long gone." But Wade knew better. The land deed they'd been set to purchase was real enough. Zara had mentioned something about meeting the seller at Eagle Pass before they'd formalized their partnership. It had been the last thing she'd said before shooting him and taking his money. "I need to rest," Wade lied, already planning his departure. The sheriff nodded, satisfied. "Good man. Revenge is a sucker's game." That night, with his shoulder bandaged and a determination that overpowered his pain, Wade slipped out of town. Thunder's hooves pounded a steady rhythm as they rode southeast toward Eagle Pass, the moonlight illuminating their path. Wade's jaw was set in a hard line, his blue eyes cold with purpose. He'd been made a fool once. It wouldn't happen again. Eagle Pass was a 3-day ride under normal circumstances. With a wounded shoulder and stops to avoid passing out from pain, it took Wade nearly 5. The small settlement perched on the border with Mexico was known for 2 things: its cattle crossing and its lawlessness. Wade rode into town as dusk settled, casting long shadows between the weathered buildings. He tied Thunder outside the saloon and adjusted his gun belt. The weight of his Colt revolver was reassuring against his hip. His shoulder throbbed, a constant reminder of his foolishness. The Broken Spoke saloon was alive with piano music and raucous laughter. Wade scanned the room from the doorway, his hat pulled low over his eyes. No sign of Zara's golden hair or the emerald green dress she'd been wearing when she shot him. He approached the bar, ordering whiskey and information in the same breath. The bartender, a man with a scar bisecting his left cheek, studied Wade's haggard appearance. "Ain't seen no fancy blonde lady," the man said, sliding a glass toward Wade. "But there's a woman staying at the hotel who came in a few days ago. Keeps to herself, paid in gold." Wade's pulse quickened. "Much obliged," he said, downing his drink and leaving a coin on the counter. The hotel was a two-story affair with peeling paint and sagging steps. Wade checked his weapon before entering, unsure what he would do when he found Zara. The rage that had fueled his journey had solidified into something colder, more calculating. The night clerk was half asleep when Wade approached. "I'm looking for a woman." Blonde, green eyes about this tall, he indicated with his hand. "She would have arrived a few days ago." The clerk straightened, suddenly alert. "Room 204, but she ain't alone. Man arrived yesterday to meet her." "Been holed up since?" Wade's grip tightened on the counter. "What man?" Fancy type from back east. Said he was a land broker. So the land deal had been real after all. Zara wasn't just stealing from him, she was completing the transaction without him. The betrayal cut deeper than he'd expected. Wade took the stairs slowly, his hand never far from his gun. The narrow hallway was dimly lit by oil lamps that cast flickering shadows on the faded wallpaper. Room 204 was at the end, a slice of light visible beneath the door. He drew his pistol, prepared for anything as he listened. Two voices, one unmistakably Zara's melodic tone, the other a man's deeper rumble. They were arguing. "This wasn't the agreement," the man hissed. "You were supposed to bring a partner with additional capital." "Plans change," Zara replied coolly. "I have enough to secure the initial payment. The rest will come." "From where?" "I've waited too long already. If you can't produce the full amount by tomorrow, I'll find another buyer." There was a pause before Zara responded, her voice tight. "I'll have it. There's a bank in town." Wade had heard enough. He kicked the door open, gun leveled at the room's occupants. Zara stood by the window, stunning as ever in a simple blue dress, her golden hair cascading over her shoulders. Her face registered shock before hardening into a mask of defiance. Across from her, a well-dressed man with a receding hairline clutched a leather portfolio to his chest. "Evening, partners," Wade drawled, training his gun on Zara. "Thought you'd killed me, didn't you?" Zara's eyes narrowed, calculating even now. "Wade, you're looking well for a dead man." The land broker looked between them, confusion evident. "What is the meaning of this?" "This woman stole my money and shot me," Wade explained, not taking his eyes off Zara. "She's a con artist working with a gang from Widow's Creek." "That's not true," Zara said sharply, addressing the broker. "This man is my former partner. We had a disagreement about the terms of our arrangement." "A disagreement?" Wade barked a laugh that pulled at his healing wound. "You put a bullet in me and left me to die." The broker backed toward the door. "I want no part of this. The deal is off until you settle your differences." He slipped past Wade and fled down the hallway. Alone with Zara, Wade felt his anger resurface. "Where's my money?" Zara's hand moved slightly, and Wade noticed the small derringer on the table behind her. "Don't try it," he warned. "I won't miss like you did." A hint of respect flickered in her eyes. "You've changed, Wade. The man I knew wouldn't have tracked me down like this." "The man you knew died when you shot him," Wade replied coldly. "Now my money, all of it." Zara sighed, gesturing to the bed where a saddlebag lay. "It's there. Take it and go." Wade approached cautiously, keeping his gun trained on her as he checked the bag with his free hand. Stacks of bills and gold coins, his life savings, were inside. But there was more, nearly double what she'd taken from him. "Whose money is this?" he demanded. A shadow crossed Zara's face. "Mine and some from other investments." Wade studied her, noticing for the first time the dark circles beneath her eyes, the tension in her shoulders. "You're running from something or someone." Zara's laugh was brittle. "Aren't we all?" Before Wade could respond, shouting erupted from the street below. They both moved to the window. 3 riders had pulled up outside the hotel, men with hard faces and guns drawn. One was scanning the windows, pointing toward their room. "Friends of yours?" Wade asked, though he already knew the answer from the color draining from Zara's face. "We need to leave." "Now," she said, grabbing the saddlebag and moving toward the door. Wade blocked her path. "Not so fast. You think I'm letting you walk away after what you did?" Zara's green eyes flashed with genuine fear. "Those men aren't here to arrest me, Wade. They're here to kill me, and they'll kill you too if they find you with me." The sound of boots on the stairs decided for him. Wade grabbed the saddlebag with one hand and Zara's arm with the other. "Back door?" he asked tersely. "End of the hall, leads to the stable yard." They slipped out just as the men reached the second floor. Wade's shoulder protested as they hurried down the back stairs and into the yard where several horses were stabled. Thunder nickered softly at Wade's approach. "We'll take my horse," Wade said, helping Zara mount before swinging up behind her. The saddlebag secure, he urged Thunder toward the rear gate. They had just cleared the yard when shots rang out behind them. Wade bent low, shielding Zara as they galloped down the alley and out of town. The moon provided just enough light to navigate as they pushed hard toward the open country. "Who are those men?" Wade demanded once they put some distance between themselves and Eagle Pass. Zara was rigid in front of him, her body tense. "The gang I was working with was," she emphasized. "I took their share and ran." Wade nearly reined Thunder to a halt. "You double-crossed your own partners." "They weren't my partners," Zara snapped. "They were using me as bait, pretty face to lure in marks. When I tried to leave, their leader made it clear that wasn't an option." "So you shot me and took my money because—" Zara was silent for a long moment. "I needed enough to disappear, start over somewhere they couldn't find me, and the land deal, was that real?" "Yes," she admitted. "That part was real. The land is valuable silver was discovered nearby. I thought if I could secure it, I'd have leverage protection." Wade absorbed this information as they rode through the darkness. The woman in his arms was a thief and a liar, but for the first time, he wondered if there was more to her story. The fear in her eyes had been genuine. So had the desperation. They rode through the night, stopping only when Thunder needed rest. At dawn, they found a small creek sheltered by cottonwoods. Wade dismounted, his wounded shoulder stiff and painful, and helped Zara down. "We should be safe here for a few hours," he said, leading Thunder to water. Zara stood awkwardly, unsure of her position now. "What happens next? Are you taking me to the sheriff?" Wade considered her question as he unsaddled his horse. She'd shot him, stolen from him, yet here he was, helping her escape. "I haven't decided." They made a small camp, neither speaking much. Wade checked his wound, relieved to find it hadn't reopened during their escape. Zara watched him struggle with the bandage before silently moving to help. "I wasn't trying to kill you," she said softly as she tended to his shoulder. "I aimed to wound, just enough to get away." "That's supposed to make me feel better?" Wade asked, though there was less bite in his tone. "No, just the truth, for once." Her fingers were gentle against his skin, a stark contrast to the woman who'd pulled the trigger on him. They ate a sparse breakfast of jerky and hard biscuits from Wade's saddlebag. As the sun rose higher, Zara's story began to unfold. She'd grown up in St. Louis, the daughter of a gambler who'd lost everything, including her mother's jewelry and eventually their home. At 18, she'd found work in a saloon where she'd met Jackson Blackwell, the charismatic leader of a gang that specialized in land fraud. "He promised I'd never go hungry again," Zara said, staring into the distance. "All I had to do was smile, be charming, and help convince men to invest in opportunities. I didn't know at first that they were scams." "When did you figure it out?" Wade asked. Her expression darkened. "When they killed a man who threatened to go to the law. That's when I knew I had to get out. But Jackson, he doesn't let people leave. The pieces were falling into place. So you found a real opportunity, this silver-rich land, and decided to double-cross everyone, me included. Zara met his gaze unflinchingly. I'm not proud of what I did to you, Wade, but I was desperate. Wade stood, pacing the small clearing. Why me? Of all the men you could have chosen to rob, why pick me? A flush colored Zara's cheeks. You were different, honest, I thought. I thought you might actually want to be partners, until Jackson threatened to kill my sister in St. Louis if I didn't bring back a big score. You have a sister. This new information jarred Wade. Emma, she's 16. After I learned what Jackson was planning, I wrote to warn her. Told her to go to our aunt in Boston. Zara's voice faltered. I don't even know if she got the letter. Wade ran a hand through his hair, conflicted. The woman before him was still a thief and a liar, but her story rang with truth. Or perhaps he was being a fool again. We should move, he said finally. Those men won't stop looking. They traveled north, avoiding towns and keeping to less traveled paths. Wade knew of an abandoned line shack near the Montana border that could serve as a hideout until they figured out their next move. It would take nearly 2 weeks to reach it, assuming they weren't caught first. During their journey, an uneasy truce formed between them. Zara proved herself useful. She could hunt, set snares for rabbits, and knew which plants were edible when supplies ran low. She took watch while Wade slept, never once attempting to flee with the money or his horse. On their 5th night on the trail, huddled around a small fire in a canyon that provided shelter from both the elements and prying eyes, Wade finally asked the question that had been bothering him. If you're so concerned about your sister, why not use the money to go to her? Why this land deal? Zara poked at the fire, sending sparks into the night sky. The land is an investment. With silver prices rising, it could mean real security, enough money to take Emma somewhere far away. Somewhere Jackson couldn't find us. And now, she looked up, her green eyes reflecting the firelight. Now I don't know. The brokers probably sold to someone else already, and with Jackson's men hunting us, Boston might not be far enough. Us, Wade raised an eyebrow. Zara's expression faltered. Me, hunting me. But Wade had noticed her slip. Despite everything, she was including him in her future plans. The realization stirred something within him that he quickly suppressed. This woman had shot him, stolen from him. Any feelings beyond anger were dangerous. Yet as the days passed and they continued north, Wade found himself watching Zara the way she smiled when she spotted deer grazing in a meadow, how she gentled thunder with soft words when the horse was spooked by a rattlesnake, the determination in her eyes as she insisted on taking the night watch so he could rest his healing shoulder. A week into their journey, they encountered a young family with a broken wagon wheel. Despite Wade's caution about interacting with strangers, Zara insisted they help. She charmed the wary husband and wife while Wade repaired their wheel, even playing with their young children while the parents prepared a meal to share in gratitude. You didn't have to do that, Wade said as they rode away, the family's thanks still ringing in their ears. Zara shrugged. They needed help. We could have been recognized by a homesteading family with 2 small children. She twisted in the saddle to look at him. Not everyone is out to get us, Wade. I thought you of all people would be more cautious. Zara was quiet for a moment. I've done things I'm not proud of, but that doesn't mean I've forgotten how to be decent. The simple statement stayed with Wade through the evening and into the next day. He'd been viewing Zara solely through the lens of her betrayal, but there were glimpses of something else, a kindness that seemed at odds with the woman who'd shot him for his money. Their journey took them through a small town where Wade risked stopping for supplies. While he negotiated with the general store owner, Zara wandered to the telegraph office. Wade found her there, staring at a yellow paper in her hands, her face pale. "What's wrong?" he asked, immediately alert for danger. Zara handed him the telegram. It was from Boston, addressed to her. "Emma never arrived at our aunt's house. No one's seen her." Wade watched as Zara's composed facade crumbled. For the first time since he'd met her, she seemed truly vulnerable, her fear for her sister genuine and raw. Without thinking, he pulled her into an awkward one-armed embrace. "We'll find her," he promised, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice. Zara pulled back, wiping her eyes. You don't owe me anything, Wade, quite the opposite." "Maybe I'm tired of owing and being owed," he replied. "Maybe I just want to help." They sent telegrams to St. Louis and several towns along the likely route to Boston. While waiting for responses, they took rooms at the local hotel, separate rooms, though Wade insisted on keeping the saddlebag with the money. That night, a knock at his door revealed Zara, her hair loose around her shoulders, her expression determined. "I want you to have this," she said, holding out a folded document. Wade took it cautiously, opening it to reveal a deed transfer. "What is this?" "I managed to secure the land deal before we left Eagle Pass. I signed half of it over to you." She met his questioning gaze steadily. "It's rightfully yours, and it's an apology, a poor one but sincere." Wade stared at the document, then at her. "Why would you do this?" "You could have kept it all. Because despite what you think of me, I do have some honor left." Zara's voice was soft but firm. "You deserved that partnership, Wade. I just took the wrong path to it." Before he could respond, shouts erupted from the street below. They rushed to the window to see 3 riders moving slowly through town, questioning people. Even from a distance, Wade recognized Jackson's men. "We need to leave," he said, grabbing his few belongings and the money. They slipped out the back of the hotel and retrieved Thunder from the livery. The night was cloudy, providing cover as they rode hard out of town. They traveled cross-country, avoiding roads and settlements, pushing themselves and Thunder to the limit. 2 days later, exhausted and low on supplies, they reached the abandoned line shack. It was little more than a one-room cabin with a leaky roof and drafty walls, but it offered shelter and obscurity. Wade repaired what he could while Zara set snares and gathered wild onions and berries. That evening, as they sat before a small fire, a comfortable silence between them, Wade made a decision. "We should head to St. Louis," he said. "Find your sister." Zara looked up sharply. "What about Jackson? His men could be waiting. Then we'll be careful, but sitting here won't help Emma." Zara studied him, confusion evident in her eyes. "Why are you doing this, after everything I've done to you?" Wade considered his answer carefully. The truth was, he wasn't entirely sure himself. "Maybe I'm still a fool," he said finally. "Or maybe there's more to you than the woman who shot me. I'd like to find out which." A week later, they arrived in St. Louis, having taken a circuitous route to avoid detection. The city was a stark contrast to the open country they'd traveled through, crowded, noisy, and anonymous in a way that provided both danger and safety. Zara led them to a modest boarding house where she and Emma had once lived. The landlady, Mrs. Brewster, greeted Zara with surprise and genuine warmth. "My stars, child. I thought you'd left for good." The older woman ushered them inside, away from curious eyes. "Mrs. Brewster, have you seen Emma?" Zara asked urgently. "She was supposed to go to Boston, to our aunt's." The landlady's face fell. "Oh dear. Emma was here until about 2 weeks ago. Some men came looking for you. She was frightened and said she was going to meet you instead. I tried to convince her to wait, but she was determined." Zara's hand flew to her mouth. "Did she say where?" "Only that you'd arranged to meet at your father's old claim." "Does that mean anything to you?" Wade saw recognition dawn on Zara's face. "The cabin," she whispered. Our father had a mining claim near Willow Creek, about 3 days' ride from here. We spent summers there as children. Mrs. Brewster insisted they stay the night, offering them separate rooms and a home-cooked meal. As they ate, she regaled Wade with stories of Zara's kindness, how she'd nursed a sick child in the boarding house, taught reading to the landlady's granddaughter, always paid her rent on time despite obvious financial struggles. Later, as Wade prepared for bed, there was a soft knock at his door. Zara stood in the hallway, a shawl wrapped around her nightdress. "Can we talk?" she asked. Wade let her in, acutely aware of her proximity in the small room. "What's on your mind? Why did Mrs. Brewster assume we're together?" Zara asked directly. "You introduced yourself as my friend, yet she gave us her knowing smile and separate rooms with a wink." Wade felt heat rise to his face. "I didn't say anything to suggest." "I know," Zara interrupted, "but she sees something between us, something I'm not sure exists after what I did." She took a deep breath. "I need to know, Wade, why are you really helping me? Is it just about the land, or some misplaced sense of chivalry?" Wade moved to the window, gathering his thoughts. The city sprawled below, lanterns and gas lamps creating pools of light in the darkness. "When you shot me," he began, "I thought I'd never trust again. I was so angry, so focused on revenge." He turned to face her. "But these past weeks, seeing you risk your life to help that family on the trail, watching how worried you are about your sister, hearing Mrs. Brewster's stories. I'm not sure who you really are anymore, the woman who conned me, or the woman standing before me now." Zara's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I'm both, I suppose. I can't undo what I did to you, Wade. I can only try to be better now." She moved closer, her hand tentatively touching his. "But I need you to know that everything since Eagle Pass has been real. My remorse, my gratitude, and whatever this is between us." Wade looked down at their joined hands. It would be so easy to pull away, to hold onto his anger and mistrust. But something deeper had taken root during their journey together. "I think," he said slowly, "that I'd like to find out what this is, after we find your sister." Zara's smile was like sunrise breaking over the plains, full of hope and possibility. She stood on tiptoe and pressed a gentle kiss to his cheek. "Thank you," she whispered before returning to her room. The next morning they set out for Willow Creek. The journey was tense, both from the uncertainty of what they might find and the shifting dynamic between them. Wade found himself watching Zara more openly now, admiring her determination and resilience. For her part, Zara seemed to stand straighter, as if unburdened by secrets kept too long. They reached the abandoned mining claim on the third day. The cabin was set back from the creek, nearly hidden by aspens that had grown up around it. Smoke curled from the chimney, and Wade felt Zara tense beside him. "She's here," Zara breathed, relief evident in her voice. They approached cautiously, Thunder's hooves crunching on fallen leaves. The cabin door flew open and a young woman stepped out, a rifle held steadily in her hands. "That's close enough," she called, her voice remarkably similar to Zara's. "Emma, it's me." Zara slid from the horse, hands raised to show she meant no harm. The rifle wavered as the girl recognized her sister. "Zara, is it really you?" Her gaze shifted to Wade, suspicion returning. "Who's that with you?" "This is Wade Youngblood. He's—" Zara hesitated. "He's my partner." Emma lowered the rifle slightly. "How do I know Jackson didn't send you?" Zara took a step forward. "Remember the story Papa used to tell us, about the bear and the honey tree? You were so scared he'd get stung, you cried every time." Emma's face softened and the rifle lowered completely. "Zara!" She ran forward, throwing herself into her sister's arms. Wade remained mounted, giving the sisters their moment of reunion. Emma was clearly exhausted and frightened but appeared unharmed. After their tearful embrace, Zara introduced him properly. "Wade helped me escape Jackson's men," she explained, the simplified version of their complicated history. "We've been looking everywhere for you." Emma eyed him warily. "You're not one of them. Jackson's men," Wade shook his head. "No, madam, I'm a cattle rancher from Silverado territory." His straightforward answer seemed to satisfy her. "Well, thank you for bringing my sister back to me. I've been so scared, hiding here alone. Jackson's men came to Mrs. Brewster's looking for both of us. They said terrible things." Zara guided her sister back into the cabin, Wade following with Thunder's reins in hand. Inside, the single room was neat but sparse, with few comforts beyond a bed, table, and cookstove. As night fell, they shared a simple meal of rabbit stew that Emma had prepared. The young woman gradually warmed to Wade, especially after Zara mentioned his promise to help them get safely away. "Where will we go?" Emma asked, her eyes wide with hope and fear. Wade and Zara exchanged a look. "I have land," Wade said carefully. "Good land with silver deposits nearby. It's far from here, hard to find unless you know where to look." "Our land," Zara corrected softly. "We're partners now, remember?" The weight of her words hung between them. This was more than a business arrangement, and they all knew it. They spent the night in the cabin, taking turns keeping watch. Wade insisted on the first shift, giving the sisters time to talk privately. He could hear their whispered conversation, Zara explaining parts of what had happened, Emma expressing disbelief at her sister's partnership with a man she'd once betrayed. "You shot him," Emma's shocked whisper carried clearly. "Yes," Zara admitted, "and somehow he's forgiven me." "Has he?" "Really?" There was a pause before Zara responded. "He's beginning to, and Emma, I think I might be falling in love with him." Wade's heart skipped at her confession, not meant for his ears. He stared into the darkness outside the cabin window, confronting his own feelings. Despite everything, the betrayal, the theft, the bullet still buried in his shoulder, he couldn't deny the pull he felt toward Zara. Her courage, her fierce love for her sister, the genuine remorse she'd shown. All had chipped away at his walls of anger and distrust. Dawn broke with a decision made. They would head west to the land that was now legally both of theirs. But first, they needed to ensure Jackson's gang wouldn't follow. "I have an idea," Wade said over breakfast, "but it's risky." His plan was bold. They would spread word that Zara and Emma had fled to California, leaving a trail for Jackson's men to follow. Meanwhile, they would double back north, taking an indirect route to their land in the Montana Territory. "The key is making them believe you're heading west," Wade explained. "We'll need to be convincing." They rode into the nearest town with telegraph service. Wade sent messages to contacts in several western towns, asking them to report sightings of two women matching Zara and Emma's descriptions. He withdrew a significant amount from his bank account, making sure the teller understood it was for starting fresh out west. Their deception laid. They began their journey north, traveling at night when possible and avoiding main roads. Emma proved to be as resourceful as her sister, adapting quickly to life on the trail. The young woman watched the developing relationship between Wade and Zara with curious eyes, sometimes smiling to herself when she caught them in moments of unguarded tenderness. 2 weeks into their journey, they stopped in a small town for supplies. While Emma rested at their camp outside town, Wade and Zara ventured in together. At the general store, as Zara selected coffee and flour, Wade found himself looking at a display of simple silver rings. "Something for your lady?" the shopkeeper asked, noticing his interest. Wade startled, then looked toward Zara across the store. "Maybe," he admitted. "It's complicated." The old man chuckled. "Ain't it always? But I've been watching you two since you came in. Complicated or not, there's something real there. Wade purchased a ring with a small blue stone that reminded him of the Montana skies. He wasn't sure when or if he would give it to Zara, but having it gave him a sense of possibility he hadn't felt in years. That evening, as Emma slept by the fire, Wade and Zara walked a short distance from camp. The night was clear, stars scattered like diamonds across the velvet sky. "We should reach the land in about a week," Wade said, breaking the comfortable silence. Zara nodded, her profile illuminated by moonlight. "What then? We build a house first, then corrals for the cattle I'll bring up from Silverado." "We," Zara corrected gently. "Partners, remember." Wade turned to face her fully. "Is that what we are, partners?" Her eyes met his, steady and clear. "What do you want us to be, Wade?" He took her hands in his, surprised to find them trembling slightly. "I want us to be everything we could have been if we'd met differently, if there had been no lies between us. Can we be that, after everything?" Zara's voice was barely a whisper. Wade reached into his pocket, feeling the small ring. "I think we already are. You betrayed me, yes, shot me even. But since then, you've shown me your true self, brave, kind, loyal. I've fallen in love with that woman, Zara." Tears welled in her eyes. "I don't deserve your forgiveness or your love." "Maybe not," Wade agreed, "but you have it anyway." He withdrew the ring, holding it between them. "This isn't a proposal, not yet. It's a promise that whatever comes next, we face it together. No more lies, no more running." Zara looked at the ring, then back at him, wonder replacing doubt in her expression. "Yes," she said simply. "Together." As Wade slipped the ring onto her finger, he felt the last of his anger dissolve. The bullet in his shoulder would always be a reminder of their beginning, but it no longer defined their story. 1 week later, they crested a hill overlooking a verdant valley. A clear stream wound through meadows rich with grass, surrounded by forests that promised abundant game and timber. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks still capped with snow even in late summer. "It's beautiful," Emma breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's home," Wade said, his hand finding Zara's. They built their ranch over the following year, starting with a modest cabin that grew room by room as their needs expanded. Word of silver on their property brought miners seeking permits, providing capital to invest in cattle and equipment. Wade sent for his small herd from Silverado, establishing the foundation of what would become the White Tea Ranch Youngblood Thornton, a testament to their partnership in all things. Emma flourished in their new home, taking charge of the garden and chickens, eventually teaching at the small school that formed as other families settled nearby. She never spoke of her fear during those days hiding alone in their father's cabin, but the nightmares that had plagued her first months gradually faded. On the anniversary of their arrival in the valley, Wade took Zara to the hill where they'd first viewed their land. A small table was set with their best dishes, a bottle of wine chilling in a bucket. "What's all this?" Zara asked, smiling at his preparations. "A celebration," Wade replied, helping her from her horse. He'd become skilled at managing with his injured shoulder, though it still ached before rain. 1 year of our new life." They ate as the sun set, casting golden light across their flourishing ranch below. Wade marveled at the changes a year had brought not just to the land, but to himself. The bitter, vengeful man who had tracked Zara to Eagle Pass was gone, replaced by someone who had learned that trust, once broken, could be rebuilt stronger than before. After dinner, Wade knelt before Zara, taking her hands in his. The simple ring he'd given her still adorned her finger, but now he held another, a gold band set with emeralds that matched her eyes. "Zara Thornton, when you shot me, I thought my life was over. Instead, it was just beginning." He smiled at the irony. "Will you marry me?" Be my partner in everything, officially and forever. Tears spilled down Zara's cheeks as she nodded. Yes, she whispered. My answer will always be yes. They were married 2 weeks later in the meadow below their house, Emma serving as maid of honor and the handful of neighboring families as witnesses. As they spoke their vows beneath an arch of aspen boughs, Wade thought about the winding path that had brought them here, from betrayal to forgiveness, from distrust to love. 5 years later, the White Tea Ranch was thriving. Their house had expanded to accommodate their growing family: twin boys with Wade's blue eyes and Zara's golden hair, and a baby girl who had just begun to crawl. Emma had married the young doctor who'd set up practice in the growing town nearby, their own small home visible from the main ranch house. On a warm summer evening, as their children played in the yard under Emma's watchful eye, Wade and Zara sat on the porch, hands intertwined. You ever think about how we started? Wade asked, his thumb tracing the scar on his shoulder. Zara's expression grew serious. Every day. It reminds me how close I came to losing everything that matters. I think about it too, Wade admitted. Not with anger anymore, but with gratitude. Gratitude? Zara looked at him in surprise. For being shot, Wade laughed, pulling her closer. For learning that sometimes, the person who hurts you most can also be the one who heals you completely. That trust, once earned, is the most valuable thing two people can share. Zara rested her head on his shoulder, her gaze taking in their land, their home, their family. I never thought I'd have this, she said softly. Safety, love, a place that's truly ours. Neither did I, Wade agreed. It took a bullet and a betrayal to find it, but I wouldn't change our story, Zara, not one word. As the sun set over their valley, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Wade knew he had found a truth worth more than all the silver in their land. Sometimes the heart's greatest wisdom comes after its deepest wound, and the most enduring love is built on the foundation of forgiveness freely given. In the years that followed, the legend of the White Tea Ranch grew throughout the territory. People spoke of the taciturn rancher with the mysterious shoulder wound and his beautiful wife who could outshoot most men. Few knew the true story of how their partnership began with betrayal and a bullet, but all could see what it had become. A testament to the healing power of love and the strength of second chances. And whenever young couples in trouble sought their advice, Wade and Zara would share the same wisdom. True love isn't found in perfect beginnings, but in the courage to continue after mistakes, in the daily choice to trust again, and in the knowledge that sometimes the heart's greatest treasure lies on the far side of forgiveness.